is today? August 5th, 2026, meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission being held in the Don B. Griffin Room. Participation is possible in person or online through GoToMeeting. Instructions for logging on to the GoToMeeting portal are available, published on the agenda, which is available on the Town of Harwich website. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Oh. When did that happen? Okay.
That was a dirty trick, you know what?
Oh my
I
goodness.
don't feel like that.
Was. How long has that been there?
I don't know.
Forever.
At least for 15 years since I've been here, it's been in that
It's always
corner.
there, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we should, for sure.
Let's do it again.
In case one
I
of
don't
you're a
know. We
creature of
just
habit. Now
pledge
you-
allegiance to
To the
the
town of
state of
Harwich.
Massachusetts.
Flag.
Oh, that's Harwich. Okay, good. So you're all good. It's just us in trouble. Okay, it's really my fault. Okay, anyway, enough levity. The first item on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability from Harwich Conservation Trust, 202 Route 28, map 11, parcel T6, for demolition of a dilapidated structure within the flood zone.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself. This one.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael Locke, Executive Director of the nonprofit Harwich Conservation Trust.
And Kelly Grant, I'm Protection Specialist with Harwich Conservation Trust.
We appreciate you including us on your agenda for the described project. I will give an overview of the two phases of this Herring River Watershed Land and Marshview Trail project. Phase one is the acquisition phase. Harwich Conservation Trust is fortunate to work with the Compacted Cape Cod Conservation Trust, which is the applicant before you this evening, with our authorization to submit it on the Compact's behalf. The Compact being a regional nonprofit land trust service center, one of the functions of which is to act as a buy and hold agent on Harwich Conservation Trust's behalf, to give Harwich Conservation Trust enough time to raise the funds to offset the purchase price of this property. So again, to describe the two phases of this project, phase one is acquisition, an aspect of which is the RDA that you talked about, which you'll be reviewing shortly, and my colleague Kelly will describe. The second phase, for which will appear before you with a later notice of intent submission, is to establish a wheelchair accessible trail and boardwalk that will provide a panoramic marsh view to the public. But that will be a subsequent application.
So, I'm presenting this request for determination of applicability. Just to clarify that Harwich Conservation Trust is actually the applicant of the RDA, and the Compact is the owner of the property, and we have their permission to submit this application on parcel that they currently own. So as the work is only within the land subject to coastal storm flow and resource area, we are filing a request for determination of applicability for this project. The project is the demolition of the dilapidated structure within the flood zone. We will be installing a sediment erosion control line, work line limit, which will we will be retaining some of the native mature trees that are on the property, and those will be protected during the demolition process. There are a number of invasive species on the property at the moment, primarily knotweed, and we're actually planning to try and get in and do a treatment before the demolition. We advise that that would make the most sense, so that there would be less recurrence on the disturbed site after the demolition has taken place, and then that invasive species management will continue post-demolition. So that is pretty much a summary of the project, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Amy?
So the exact location of the structure is only in land subject to coastal storm flowage, which is the floodplain. It is not, none of the work as proposed is within the buffers to any other resource areas. It's pretty flat here, and land subject to coastal storm flowage doesn't really have yet too many performance standards, something that we're gonna be talking about later today. But, so essentially, just wanna make sure they're not gonna have an adverse, any adverse issues to adjacent properties in the event of a coastal flood. They're not proposing any grade changes here, they're really just cleaning it up and starting to get the invasives under control. So I don't foresee that this is gonna have any negative impact to the floodplain. If anything, it's getting a dilapidated structure that could be at risk in the event of a large flood and out of here. So in terms of the application for the invasive treatment, obviously knotweed is one of the ones that you pretty much need to use an application on. Do you know that if they're planning to do, is it cut and wipe or a foliar? I know it's gonna be by a state applicator with a license, so it's not just gonna be anybody.
So, I think that it depends on how mature it is. I think there was gonna be a combination of, cut and swipe where they can, and foliar on stuff that
Yeah.
are not able to do that.
I only ask is, just to be mindful if you do a foliar application, obviously as applicators they have to be, but just of weather and wind conditions. So, depending on how, I guess, long the site stays cleared without, I know you're planning a next phase for it, but I would recommend, even though it's flat, that if it's gonna be more than a couple months, that it's gonna just be cleared down to dirt, that you do put down a native grass seed mix and whatever takes, just to help hold the soils, if it's gonna be more than a couple months' time.
Yeah,
makes sense.
actually, yeah, we have requested that of the demolition that the
Okay.
contractor did that, yeah.
Great. I would recommend approval with a -2 determination then, that work does take place in a resource area, which is the flood zone, but will not have an adverse impact on the area or its interests.
Thank you. Susan?
No questions for me.
Mark?
Just not totally clear to me. Is it all of the structures on the property?
It is,
Everything?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
Questions? Pretty straightforward.
John?
I feel like we've been over this like 4 times now. I feel like we've been over this 4 times now. Same one.
No, I've got nothing. It's pretty straightforward.
So my only question or comment is, there's an awful lot of bittersweet and tree of heaven on that property, so it is your intention, I assume, to treat and remove, to your best ability, all of those things, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Are there any questions from the public in the room? Doesn't look like anyone's online, but anyone in the room have any questions or comments? Seems like not. Can we have a motion?
I move to approve the 202 Route 28, map 11, parcel T-6, with a -2 determination.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So that's
Pass this to Viv, please. I'll go get Wayne.
five.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next, we have a request for determination of applicability for 108 Route 28, map 10, parcel L6-0, for the proposed demolition of the dilapidated structures attached to the main structure. Good evening.
My name is John Cassell, Tom Turketta, LLC. We're here seeking a determination of applicability for the demolition of the dilapidated structures behind the main building. We have a permit in right now for the demolition as phase one. We also put a permit in for phase two. The intention is to lift the existing historical main structure, install a full height foundation underneath, and set the structure back down. And the intention of the owner is to preserve and redo the exterior of the existing structure to sort of bring it back to life, exactly the way it was, obviously as much as possible. New windows, new siding, new roof. And that's as far as we've gotten with it. There is no, I don't have any information on phase three or phase four, whether or not it exists. But that's our intention right now. So we're here today to seek the determination of applicability, or demolition of the two structures that are attached to the main structure, so we can move forward with phase two. I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
I have Mr. Jeffrey Lane with me here today, who is the owner of the property.
Okay,
We're doing a surgical removal of a lot of the extra buildings that got added to the 1790 original structure. And hopefully, we don't tear down or destroy anything of the 1790 building while we're surgically removing all of the extra stuff that got added, so that we can get it safe. But all the further I know, that's a big enough challenge right there, with how many years they've let that thing sit. So,
And the way we do it is we cut the buildings in the back. We literally cut them separate. Maybe two cuts, creating a space, so we don't do exactly, our intention is, Mr. Lang's intention is to not damage the existing structure, the historic structure.
okay, thank you.
So this is a similar application to what we just saw. It's just down the street from it. This is what a lot of people know as the Bishop's Terrace, which is the inn and tavern that was there. And I actually remember when I first started here, this is an aside, it was 15 years ago, there was still some kitchen activity happening in that building, which is crazy. But I remember the health department having discussions with the then owner about operating a commercial kitchen in that building. And anyways, it's land subject to coastal storm flowage. Again, there is an off-site wetland to the northwest, but none of their proposed activity is within the buffer zone to that. In the future, if they intend to, whatever they intend to redevelop the site, obviously it's floodplain, so it has to come back to you, but also if there's anything in that buffer zone, it would also be part of that application. When I received the request for determination, it was a little bit unclear because it did say demolition of everything except the historical main structure, got that. Then it said lift building and install new foundation, set building back down. I had questioned that because what we would need then is more foundation information, grades, things like that, because you are in a floodplain. I was told by the other spokesperson for this that this phase, what we're approving tonight, is only the demo. Not lifting and putting it back down. That will have to come back to us.
I think even the permits, I mean,
The permits are
the
separate.
permits are separate. as
Just,
well,
just
so.
making sure we're all on the same page, because it was in the application to build and install a new foundation, and that is not part of this application. It's getting the dilapidated portions of the later portions of the building removed. If you've been to the site, they are extremely dilapidated, caving in. It was fortunate to go inside safely, with an escort and a mask, and be careful where I step, but, full of lead paint and
More of the raccoon and.
the
fox poop.
yep, I heard it was cleaned before I got there,
Yeah.
so,
Actually, Amy, we did have a lead paint test and
And-
it came out negative.
oh, good.
Well,
How's
That's
that?
incredible.
before they
That was we uploaded it to the portal, both permits.
Yeah, so I went probably well over a month ago. That's good, though,
Yeah,
because there's a lot of chipping paint in
miracle.
there. So for conservation, it's a pretty easy thing, because you're not changing the grades, you're not proposing new parking, you're not putting a new foundation under it at this point. When that time comes, you will see that again, because you will have to look at elevations, you're gonna have to look at grading and things like that. So this is just to get rid of hazard structures that are on the site. So I would recommend a -2 determination on this one as well. Again, it's only floodplain, and keeping a structure in this condition in the floodplain is a hazard, it is a bigger hazard. So starting to clean it up and plan for the future is an approvable thing for the Conservation Commission with a -2.
Thank you. John?
Nothing?
Wayne?
No, I think it's great, and Mr. Lang, I applaud you for saving this building. I mean, I grew up in West Harwich, and it's been a beautiful place for many years until the last 15
Yeah.
or 20, so, thank you.
Well, we'll see. I'm
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that we're not too late. You
No,
know,
I
that
think you can save it.
The extra year delay that we had in closing
Mm.
really, these last winter storms really hurt that structure. So the sooner that we can actually get in and start shoring things up where the
Mhm.
foundation or where the structure is damaged is important.
No questions, best of luck?
That is a huge undertaking,
Yeah.
huge,
Yeah,
so I wish you the best of luck.
he's convinced me he's good.
Taking his word for it. Are you taking any steps to protect the wetland area? Are you putting anything up on the boundary there to, any kind of silt fencing or?
The silt fencing's already up.
It is.
I had them do that. They
Yeah.
did get a minor administrative review permit from me,
Okay,
to basically clean the site of debris and invasive species, and just so they can get in there. So they put a work limit up. They put a limit of work up.
awesome, good luck.
Good project, I'm looking forward to seeing it happen. The cottage to the rear, is that slated for demolition as well?
Inside the silt fence.
Good luck, have at it.
And no questions for me, I'm excited to see the finished product.
I'm just curious about the back. It looks like a lot of fill there, and I, just looking at the plan here, there's an indication of something there, which I don't know. Is that
It's a big
like,
septic.
Septic,
is that septic?
I think it's a huge septic
Yeah.
system.
yeah.
It is, I think that was elevated quite a while ago.
So that's like a septic mound as far as, who knows?
That whole area
But-
is septic mound.
But you're not doing anything about that under this permit?
That's correct.
You're not gonna dig any of that stuff up, you're just,
This is all surface, getting the demo of the buildings.
okay. Thank you. Like everybody else said, it's daunting. Any comments or questions in the room?
Yes.
Could you,
If you want to speak, please come up and identify yourself at the podium.
thank you.
My name is Debbie Cameron, and I live at 13 North Road, which I am, where the sill fences are at, there's a backyard, and then across the street, which is North Road. And there we're behind it, we can actually see what's going on. And I just wanted to say thank you. Because, thank you very much, because it was quite an eyesore back there with all of the boats and RVs and things. So, thank you so much.
Okay, thank
I
you.
like those kind of comments. I'm not used to it here.
Anyone else? Okay. Can we have a motion?
I'll make a motion for a -2 determination for 11, excuse me, that's the wrong one. For 108, I believe it is?
Yep.
Route 28, map 10, parcel L6-0.
Seconded.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
6 and 0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have, excuse me, we have a request for determination of applicability for 18 Soundview Road, map 26, parcel L1-6, proposed construction of a residential addition and related lower-level site access improvements within the existing developed residential area and wetland buffer zone. This hearing has been continued from July 15th, and the applicant has requested a continuance to our next meeting on August 19. So, what we need is a motion.
I'll move to continue to August 19th.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
6 and 0. Thank you. Okay, next. We have a notice of intent for 4 Mill Point Road, map 1, parcel J1-96, SE 32-2637, for the construction of a residential dock and seawall improvements with salt marsh creation. This hearing has been continued from our June 17, 2026 meeting, and the applicant has requested a continuance to September 2, 2026.
September 1.
Says September 2 here.
Says 2.
Oh, on the agenda,
Yes,
it should be September 1.
okay. Well, either way, how many continuances are we at with this particular hearing, and when?
Quite a few. I will say the main reason is it was because of Division of Marine Fisheries comments that they had to redraw some of the plan, and also the Waterways Committee, up until hopefully very soon, was short some members and was not able to have
They
meetings.
didn't have quorum?
They didn't have quorum.
I see, so it isn't the applicant so much as, okay, all right,
It's extenuating circumstances.
okay.
So, September 1st.
September 1st.
Okay. Can we have a motion?
I'll move to continue to September 1st.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6 and 0. Next, we have a notice of intent for 11 Riverbend Road, or 11 Riverbend, I guess, map 1-G1, parcel 9, to replace existing wooden bulkhead and fill the eroded area behind the bulkhead. Again, this is this continued?
They're continuing, they would like to, no, we never opened it yet.
Oh, we didn't open it yet, okay, so,
They would like a continuance to August 19th.
okay. I'll move that we continue this hearing to our August 19, 2026 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Well, that's it for our hearings. Next, we have Orders of conditions, first for 166 Bank Street, map 23, parcel N5-2, SE 32-2632, for the construction of additions to the single-family dwelling, construction of a pool and patio, installation of a fence, installation of drainage improvements, rain gardens, and installation of native plantings as mitigation for the increase in impervious surfaces.
So you're only considering the amended conditions, which is a new plan, and this only includes the area that was actually outside the limit of work that during the regular hearing you had suggested that they come back to amend to include invasive removal and native restoration, which they did. So it's only approving the new plan and the the amended special conditions for actually both of these in front of you for orders of conditions. We cannot go back and change the regular special conditions.
Okay. Do we have comments or questions
No, I
about?
don't have any.
None.
I have one question.
Mhm.
There's no limitation given here on annual monitoring. It's like, is
It is
that
in the
in
land management
perpetuity?
plan, so I will put that in there. It should be. Annual, because it is in their land management plan, but, no, it does. Annual monitoring report detailing progress of the land management plan to be submitted by December 1st, starting December 1st, 2026.
But are they then required to provide a land management plan in perpetuity at the end of the year?
Just a report, I could say for at least 3 years is usually what we do.
Okay. Makes sense to me. Anybody else have any comments about that?
No, good catch.
Okay. I move that we approve this order of conditions for 166 Bank Street, map 23, parcel N5-2, as just amended.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have an order of conditions for 25 Monomoy Road, map 5, parcel K1-A8, SE 32-261A, excuse me, for the construction of an in-ground pool with retaining wall and fill, patio, cabana with a bathroom, rinse station, and storage unit. A portion of the work will occur within the land, subject to coastal storm flowage. And to clarify, this is also just an amended order of
Right.
conditions.
Correct.
So, comments or questions? Anything? Okay, I'll move that we approve the amended order of conditions for 25 Monomoy Road, map 5, parcel K1-A8.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey, may I abstain from this, because I voted against it the last time when it was here.
What, which are you
That's
abstaining?
fine, you don't have to.
The one we just called?
So
Oh,
that's
you-
a 5-1 then.
Monomoy.
Or a 5,
Five,
you're abstaining, so
0-1.
5-0-1.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, next, we have requests for certificates of compliance. First, One Shore Drive, map 78, parcel B10, SE 32-2506, to raise and replace a single-family dwelling and septic.
So for this one, we recommend a certificate of compliance. We visited the site and found all the conditions had been met. The owner is keeping the property in a very natural state. Mitigation plantings are in. There's no erosion. They did a very nice job. So we recommend a cert of compliance for One Shore Drive.
motion. I'll make a motion that we accept the certificate of compliance for One Shore Drive, map 78, parcel B10, SE 32-2506.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
6-0. Next is a request for a certificate of compliance for 0 Hiawatha Road, map 6, parcel T1, SE 32-2586, for stone revetment replacement.
So this one, I am recommending a certificate of compliance with a couple of augmentations. So, we received the as-built plan for the wall. This wall was kind of done in conjunction with a few others in the line. This is the association, parcel, and then there's private home parcels to either side. The only thing with this one is, there was a small area to either side of the top of the wall, and the Virginia roses, or Carolina roses that were put in have not survived. They were put in this spring. It's not tied to any home sprinkler system. I don't know if that's the cause of things didn't get watered or whatnot. My recommendation would be to do a side letter, and I think a representative from the association is here if you have questions. Planting American beach grass, at least up on the top, something a little hardier that doesn't, we plant in the winter. It's not gonna require irrigation, but it's gonna, right now, people can go right up to the top and climb down if they wanted to. Not that grass is necessarily going to stop them, but, I think it'd be, we wanna have that top of the wall be stable. Beach grass has good roots. I just don't know if shrub plantings are gonna take there. And then, there was a conversation that I had with the applicant's engineer, kind of about the long-term condition of nourishment. So they have benchmarks installed in the wall, as a lot of them do in this area, to kind of monitor the beach elevation over time. This year, we had a lot of sand, and the association was able to purchase and benefit from that. So, they purchased way more than the 48 yards that would typically kind of be required. Each year, they have to monitor and see if their benchmarks are exposed. I fully expect them to continue to want to nourish their beach, but we found out that the other orders for the permits that will be coming for certs of compliance soon don't have the exact same language as this in terms of re-nourishment. Once this one does, but a lot of, especially properties on Shore Road, do have that language. And I think particularly if it is the intention of the association to keep nourishing, I don't see the harm in keeping the language as it is. So I'd recommend a cert with a side letter stating that this winter directions on planting American beach grass. If they would like to try something a little more substantial in the spring, I'm for it. If you wanted to try redo the roses again, I just think it's a really tough spot.
Goldenrod, maybe.
Yeah.
Is there any topsoil there, or is it just sand?
Just sand.
Say, planted
They might have put,
roses in sand. Wow. Okay, yeah, I can see why that.
If you want, I can comment on this, or?
if you want to come up, sure.
Appreciate it, thank you.
The head of the association here for you.
Good evening. So I'm Dave Foger, and I'm one of the trustees for the Windermere Beach Trust. We put the plantings in, the roses in, I guess it was about the beginning of May. And I can honestly tell you myself, I've been walking up with water every other day. But these are sitting in sand, unfortunately, and they just dry it out. There are a few that have survived. We'll keep those in there, ones that have survived. But if the beach, if your recommendation is the beach grass is something that should take, we'll try to water as best we can. Again, I've been carrying up buckets myself, and.
We appreciate that effort.
No,
So-
because there's no irrigation there, unfortunately, right? And so we try to do what we did, because we spent a lot of money in the roses too, right, putting them in. And unfortunately, they didn't take, except there are a few, and
Yeah.
hopefully they'll continue painting, so.
But if beach grass is a viable solution that we'll probably take, you know, in the drought, in the sand, then we'll give that a shot. That's not a problem.
If
And that sounds like
planted,
at the summer timeframe or something like that.
if planted in the winter, when it's dormant, by the time, I mean, granted, if we have a historic drought, then you have to water it, but it normally you don't need to, which is nice. I mean, I think we conditioned the roses because we wanted to see something a little bit more on top, but it is hard to get them to establish, so,
Like, 'cause I've been up there watering every other day, you know, carrying buckets of water. And
sorry.
it's okay, you know, we want to try to make.
I didn't mean to say that, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just
Give
one
you-
of those
not
things
give you
of,
credit.
you know, yeah, unfortunately, just a couple are taking, you know. we'll
And
try to keep
hopefully
those
after
up.
the first year, you know, if they're making it, hopefully they'll do some resprouting, and you can
They- they
prune back
watch, yeah.
some dead stuff in the fall,
Mhm.
and, you never know, you might get resprout where you don't know.
Yep.
Those things do sucker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Yep, so,
Yeah.
anyway, so, you know, we're very much open to that, that's not an issue.
So I would say I've recently had some luck in my day job with a mix of beach grass plugs and seaside goldenrod plugs. That might be a different option for you guys. You wouldn't necessarily have to plant it in the winter. I would recommend either fall or spring. Beach grass in the winter
Yeah.
tends to get planted in bundles of 5 or 6, I think. Just an option.
Okay, appreciate it. I can work with Amy on that.
yeah, we can certainly, I mean, I like diversity, so
Yeah.
some goldenrod is great in there too.
Okay. Anything else? Can we have a motion?
I move to approve the certificate of compliance for Windermere Beach Trust, 0 Hiawatha Road, map 6, parcel T1, SE 32-2586.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
6-0. Next, we have a request for a certificate of compliance for 2257 Route 28, head of the Bay Road, map 119, parcel N2, SE 321912, for the demolition and construction of a single-family house and garage with site improvements.
So no work was done under this permit. The permit no work was done under it, and then subsequently, other permits that they wanted to do a little differently were applied for, and those have actually been closed out too. So this would be a approval of a cert of compliance for work not done. And it just gets it off their deed, because right now it's sitting on the deed.
All right, I move to approve the certificate of compliance for work not done for 2257 Route 28, head of the Bay Road, map 119, parcel N2, SE 32-1912.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Okay, 6-0. And then
Paperwork to do after this.
a request for a certificate of compliance for 41 Idle Way, map 63, parcel A 49-0, SE 32-1061, for the construction of a garage and addition. This is a certificate of compliance reissuance.
So we voted a long time ago to issue this. It never got recorded. And so they need wet signatures at the registry, original signatures. So this is a reissuance of this. I did take a drive-by just to make sure everything still looked like it was permitted to, and it does. They've done a good job keeping the property, and not doing excessive things. So I would recommend you vote to reissue the cert.
Any discussion?
No.
Motion?
I'll make a motion that we vote to reissue a certificate of compliance for 41 Idle Way, map 63, parcel A49-0, SE 32-1061.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
6-0. Okay. Next, we have a couple of discussion items, starting with a citizen request to start discussion on the potential for a kayak ramp in the Herring River at the Bell's Neck Conservation Area. It's your choice, your pleasure.
My name is John Jory, and thank you for putting me on your agenda for tonight. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just read a little outline of what I'm talking about here, and then we can have a discussion on the points of it. I'm not sure of the steps required to get a formal kayaking slash canoe ramp. I'll just keep mentioning kayak, but I'm also including canoes in this. And for a launch and takeout at the Herring River Fish Ladder at Bell's Neck. And that's just a suggestion at this point. I'm amenable or anything to putting some type of ramp for launching at the fish ladder area. Could be to the right of it, to the left of it, but anywhere in that area. But that's the top of the Herring River. And I'm starting my investigation, if you want to call it that, with the Conservation Commission, feeling that you folks are the ones that have the jurisdiction on this. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts and guidance on establishing the kayak launch takeout at the fish ladder there. Bell's Neck and the Herring River Preserve are currently visited by many people for many different outdoor activities. It's one of the most beautiful marsh areas in all of Cape Cod. If you Google or AI now, you will learn that the Herring River is one of the best kayaking rivers on Cape Cod. People come from all over just through that river. The town has recently rebuilt the Wixon Docks, which is at the entrance, if you want to call, to the Herring River, and also to Nantucket Sound. They just redid that. People could launch kayaks there and paddle up the Herring River. They just finished that about a year and a half ago or so. The town is also currently in the process of designing and starting the process of rebuilding the boat ramp at 28. If you're familiar with that area, it's the boat ramp at 28 that crosses over the Herring River. That was approved at town meeting. I believe it's close to final design, and they're hoping to rebuild that whole area, the parking lot and the ramp. They rebuilt the dock a couple years ago, but that whole area is going to be rebuilt. And that's also an excellent spot to launch or take out canoes and kayaks there. So not a little less than halfway, but as you know, and you folks are very aware of this, that the town also approved, I think it was 2025 town meeting, for the Conservation Commission to rebuild or design and permit for a future boardwalk there. It's not, my understanding is not for the construction of it, but just for the design and permitting of it on the North Bridge Road there. And I'm not sure what your timeline is on any of that stuff. I visited the two areas there, or three areas. I visited the North Bridge yesterday, and there really isn't any good currently. Now maybe in your new permitting and design for launching and taking out of kayaks or canoes there. Fence was put up recently, I don't know when, but it's recently, almost blocking any way to get down to the river. And I noticed that there's paths now being worn into getting down to the river there. The Harwich Conservation Trust, I didn't know they were here tonight, but you heard them tonight, who has been very engaged in land acquisition and protection of the Bell's Neck and surrounding marshlands for many years. I guess you are currently aware they are working on two multi-million-dollar projects right now for the better access and protection of that area. Currently, there is no good way to access the Herring River at North Bridge, Bell's Neck Road Bridge, or the Herring River Fish Ladder. If you do go into the Herring River Fish Ladder, you've got to go through brush and eventually into muck and mud to get to launch your canoes there. And many people do it. And I'm not a die-hard kayaker, but I do go there every once in a while. And it's rather challenging. The only spot with good access reservoir off of Bell's Neck Road. I was up there yesterday, and there was 2 cars there actually loading up 4 kayaks onto their cars. And that's the only entrance that I could see to the vast, marshland and Herring River. So what my intent is to see what steps I should go to. I'd like to get your support on this. I've talked to many kayakers, and everyone seems to be favorably in favor of it. I did have a brief conversation with, trying to figure out the next steps of all the people involved with the CPC for folks there, just to see, what they think of it. Not formally at a meeting, I will do that officially at some point with one of their members. And they said that the conversation group is obviously the best one to go to. So that's my intent. I don't know if anybody else has ever mentioned it to you before. And I'd just like to get your thoughts on it. I don't know how many of you folks are kayakers or have actually done the river there, but it's a beautiful river. And again, look at Google or AI and you'll see Herring River. Harwich is one of the perennial rivers to do it. And it's tidal, as you know. So a lot of folks watch the tide and paddle up and get out at fish ladder or vice versa. The tide's going out, they'll put in at Herring River and paddle down to either 28 or continue on down to Wixon Docks. So that's my thoughts. I'd like to know what I should do next to let's see, maybe this comes to fruition.
Okay, thank you. Amy, do you have
I have
comments?
some thoughts, yeah. So I would be in favor of continuing to look and see what would be the best location for it, because I do agree that access is limited, and it is a wonderful resource. And people do walk down the side slope by the fish ladder, and it is hazardous. So the dot actually should be on the south of that, on your map.
I
That's
just did,
fine.
yeah. It was
Yeah.
just
But, no, just to make sure that people understand it's to the river, not to the West Reservoir is what
Yes,
you're
to the river,
asking.
yeah.
Because there's plenty of access places to put in for people who want to be on the West Reservoir. A concern I have with that location, and that is, I think it's great for access, but you have the fish ladder there, you have the dam there. I just would want to be cognizant to make sure we're not designing anything that's going to exacerbate any erosion to either the dam, the fish ladder, any of this existing structures that are there, as well as not causing additional erosion by adding something in. So, without having, I know we haven't even thought about design, it's really just talking about, are we supportive of something here? I would be supportive of exploring it. In terms of the North Road pedestrian bridge, walkway project, raised boardwalk, we will be getting they've done all the explorations, they've done the exploratory borings, they've done the survey, they're working on the design plans, and they're gonna come up with a set of options, basically to present, to see which ones that might be the most acceptable, and then it has to go through permitting. There's nothing saying that we couldn't, that we're not too far along that we can't consider doing something in conjunction with that. There, we would potentially have to have a little bit more parking made available on North Road, and as North Road, at the extreme high tides, as we know, floods anyways. But in the location of the potential pedestrian, of the raised boardwalk, or even actually as you're approaching that on the south side, there's a few parking spots and a path that go down to the marsh there as well. I think there's options for putting in something to better access the river. We had cut off, on the north side of the pedestrian bridge, we had put that fencing up because about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, before we had done it, it was getting such extensive use. But it was actually eroding very severely on either side, especially as you approach the pedestrian bridge, and it was undermining some of the footings. So we had said, well, we want to allow people to still walk there, but not go down the side slopes at that location. But you're right, people are going around it. I guess I'm in favor of further vetting the options. That would be my recommendation.
Other comments, questions?
I kayak the river a lot. I typically go in at 28.
At the ramp there?
Yeah, and I'll go all the way up.
Yeah.
And I'm tired. I would love to actually hit it a little
Have something
higher.
closer. It's a long way.
Yeah, so I would love to explore other options, but I am worried about just the impact on the environment because it's just so fragile.
I think the concept's pretty interesting, but I'd be more in favor of launching down by North Road somewhere in that area and staying away from the fish ladder and up in there. I mean, there's a lot of traffic. You got a lot of herring in the springtime. It's quite shallow. I think it might be a potential disruption at times, so.
Too, with the fish.
Yeah, you'd probably have to put a seasonal restriction on it when the herring run.
Yeah, if it was down towards North Road, I think it
Wouldn't have
might
to
be
if it was farther. if it was-
generally a little bit more accessible and maybe better suited.
I like that idea. I think it's a great recreation spot. I love that area. So, like Mark's area, just moving it down and getting it away from the fish ladders there with potential problems. So, it's a good idea.
Yeah, I was there yesterday looking at the three areas, on the North Bridge, just looking at a couple people crabbing. And the guy came down and said, what beautiful day, what are you doing? I said, I'm here for a kayak rap. He says, I come here every night after work before I go home. And I walk on the bridge and I take a couple deep breaths and look out and I go home. And I thought that was a great, it's a beautiful area.
Mhm.
It's tremendous. And just to hear him say that was really good.
I think it's definitely wise to have better access.
Yeah.
It's a great area for people to use.
Yeah, I agree with everybody else. I think it's a good idea. I think maybe exploring where it goes would be worth pursuing, but I think it's a fine idea.
I think it's a great idea. The only downside to North Road would be the lack of parking at this point.
Mm.
It's that old adage, you build it, they will come.
And that-
Right now, they still come, but
Yeah.
And even if it was at the fish ladder, I mean, that lot gets full on a
Yeah.
daily basis
Oh, yeah,
anyway,
it's-
so, yeah, it's the challenge anywhere is parking.
Ron?
Yeah, I'm on board. I think it sounds awesome.
So I have a
Maybe we
question.
can walk it next
I'd
week or
be
two.
happy to work with you, Amy. I'd be happy to
Yeah.
do the survey, not survey, but, all I've got some plans on kayak ramps and stuff and suggestions.
Yeah.
It's just
Do you think DMF would discriminate between these potential locations? That is, would DMF object to building something right up by the dam there?
It's hard to tell. I do think the likelihood, it's much higher that they would have some comments or dissuade right by the ladder versus half a mile downstream. Yeah, I think it would be much more likely that they would ask for an alternate location if they could, just because so the Herring River is like one of, if not the biggest herring run on Cape Cod. And that's their first step to get up to the ponds is right there. So, it might be less of a permitting headache to look at a different location.
Yeah, and I haven't started looking around the state yet at all to see if there's any similar installations like this.
I'd be interested in seeing what some examples
Yeah.
look like. Because it could very well incorporate into what we're planning for a raised boardwalk
Right.
with minimal extra effort.
Yeah, you could. And it's really not that much further away from the fish ladder either.
Right, you could still easily paddle
Yeah.
all the way up.
Okay, well, great, and Amy, you have all my contact information.
I know how to get a hold of you.
You do.
And you're here all the time anyways, I tell you.
Here. And, no, I just think I hadn't been out there for a while, and yesterday when I was out there, it was just, that marsh is just so beautiful.
Mhm.
You know, just unbelievable what transformation is going on. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks,
you.
John.
Yeah.
Okay, next we have discussion of Cape Cod Commission's draft coastal resilient zone wetlands regulations, sections 7 and 8.
Sorry these were not in your paper packets. They did get put in Dropbox, and you have a paper copy here. So looking at sections 7 and 8, so at the last meeting you had with me, which was over a month ago now, we kind of buttoned up and had an agreement on sections 1 through 6, and a lot of it was clarification, making it more user-friendly. And this kind of gets really into the meat and potatoes of it. I have not had a chance, I've gone through a lot of it, and I've started making some initial track changes along the vein that Viv and I had done of just clarifying things, spelling things out, putting the hyperlinks into things.
Amy, are those things in the printout that you have here, or is this
Can I see
just
that?
the original?
Sorry. I think you might have gotten not my track changes, which I'm happy to go through. I don't foresee us getting through this all tonight, but, sorry if the original got put in, not my track changes. I think a big discussion point here is, what the Cape Cod Commission had bulleted, which in numerous places here, they say things like, consider elevating higher than the state building code. And that's something, that's a decision that each town has to make. So that's a big discussion. They say elevated to or above the requirements of the state building code. So right now, depending on what flood zone you're in, whether you're in a velocity zone, you might have waves, it's potentially much more damaging. In that, I could potentially see thinking about it. In an A zone, I'm not so sure.
So the way that is apparent in here is they're using acronyms, but it's the options of just keying off the existing flood zones versus sea level rise
Right.
based flood zones. And then
Correct.
there's a discussion of how far out are we looking, right?
Correct.
If we're going to key off trying to accommodate anticipated sea level rise,
Right.
until when?
Right. So thank you for putting together some links that I did send around today that people at your leisure can go through.
And see
If you
those.
look at all the data from various entities, you're going to see that about every 20 to 25 years, they have a projection of sea level rise. And it's going to be on the low, there's going to be a range. It's going to be like, well, at the best case scenario, it's going to be this. At the worst case scenario, it's going to be this. We can look back and see what we've risen already to extrapolate. And it's hard to tell exactly how things are going to go. But that's what the county is kind of indicating, is to consider projections for sea level rise. I think once you get to me, once I've seen anything past year, like 2050, which is crazy, it's only 24 years away, the margin of error is greater. So I would say, if anything, I wouldn't do any projections past 2050.
And is the sea level the same as the high tides? Because sometimes the high tides alone just seem like they're a thing, like the king tides are happening. more.
Right, I mean, there's not just high tides, but there's high tides, they
Right.
call them now, and low tides.
Like, is
It's
that a
different.
measurement separate from the sea level rise?
Yes.
Is anyone actually tracking those? I mean,
Well,
some huge percentage
We're,
increase.
we're talking about flood zones, so already you're taking into account flood levels. So, I mean, current flood levels are, like, in a lot of places in Harwich, the 100-year flood is 11 feet above. What is the reference point? I'm always confused about that.
Sea level, so it's
Well-
height above sea level.
Yeah, but as Susan's pointing out, sea level changes twice, goes through 2 cycles every day. So what is the actual, is this some like mapping datum we're talking about? Something close to low tide or something close to high tide? We actually need to establish that, I think, too. But what we're still talking about is flood zone and flood levels and anticipating as sea level rise happens, how we should be elevating the anticipation of what is now, say, an 11-foot flood level in an AE zone. If sea level rise is 2 feet 20 years from now, that is, if normal sea level is 2 feet above that 20 years from now, then that 11-foot flood zone would logically be 2 feet higher than it is now. But that's well above normal high tides and even like spring high tides or a sort of normal storm high tide.
How much has it gone up in the last 20 years?
Half a foot, roughly.
It's around,
6 inches?
no, I think it's
We
more
know
than
that
that.
for sure that it,
Yes, we know, you should look at the references there. Well,
Probably
one of
just a
those
little bit
things
more than
points
20
out
years,
is
probably
there have
25 or
been
30.
tide gauges actually in the US and elsewhere in the world. People have been recording sea level numbers consistently since the 19th century. So there's a ton of data for 150 or more years showing sea level rise. And that as of, one of these documents talks about the baseline being the level in 2000. And I don't remember the numbers, but in 2000 it had already been something on the order of a foot relative to like 1880. And that's based on both mechanical tide gauges and satellite stuff, although there wasn't satellite stuff clearly in 1880, but since the end of the 20th century, there's been satellite data being taken, and there is a ton of data showing that this is all happening.
What they're
And it's-
doing now, too, with our wonderful coastal processes specialist, Brian McCormick at the county, is he's actually, because depending on where you are in the world, the levels are different, how much it's going up. And he's doing real-time data collection here on the Cape, and when it comes to that, with sea level rise as well as the high tides, the low tides, just getting accurate, actual here data. An option for you, for now, because we don't have any coastal resilience regulations right now. There's nothing saying down the road you can't amend them. I think and a good option for you is to just at the point, if you wanted to, just be at the state building code requirement. And I think, and we have to have the conversation with the zoning board and the building department, because they're also gonna be talking, because these are zoning regulations, is to at least echo what the state building code requires in terms of elevating above the floodplain.
Are we not at that now?
We don't have any regulations, so it defaults to the state, but we don't have any
Got it.
local regulations. Yeah.
So to get back onto the previous point, because I just want to say these numbers out loud. and I'm reading off, this is a NOAA website, that is a government website, federal government website, which says global mean sea level has risen 8 to 9 inches since 1880. In 2023, global mean sea level was 101.4 millimeters, or 3.99 inches above 1993 levels. That is, in 30 years, sea level rose 4 inches. So I think we should put the question aside about whether, hopefully everybody accepts this. This is known, well-established data that has been investigated by organizations all over the world, not just in the US, and it's all very well established. You know, the part that we don't know, of course, is exactly what's gonna happen over the next 50 years, but sea level rise is still happening on an annual basis, and that is also being measured. And there's no reason to expect, because of the factors you can read in here, that it's not going to continue. So we have to try, in my view, it's really on us to try to make a reasonable judgment about what a fair estimate is, based on scientific evidence that we read, what we should anticipate in 2050 or 2070, so that the regulations that we put in place now will provide for planning and dealing with sea level rise in the future.
As an aside, if anybody ever goes out to Wellfleet Bay, Audubon,
Oh, yeah.
beautiful place to walk, they have now put in the ground what they project, what has been projected to where sea level will be in 2030, 2050, and
Yeah, that's
2070.
crazy.
They're marking high tide levels, if I, it's
Yeah.
high tide, not low
High
tide, right?
tide.
High tide levels,
Basically, most of that marsh is just gonna be, according to that, is gonna be gone. So, in terms of a visualization of it, if you ever happen to be up in that area, it's pretty startling. Like I said, the farther out you go, the greater discrepancy, or unsure, I can't speak. The greater level of
Uncertainty.
uncertainty, thank you, Rob, that's exactly the word I was looking for, there is.
right.
Conservatively, been doing a lot of reading the past few weeks on it, is, because it's been going and then starting to go up. It's a projection to go up more substantially. So conservative numbers by 2050 are a foot, an additional foot. But the information,
What's causing it to go, make a jump like that, to go up? You said it was kinda going slow, and then all of a sudden it jumped up. What's causing that?
global warming, the emissions, the melting of the glaciers, the fact that warm water takes up more space than cold water.
Well,
As water
going back,
warms,
that's
it
what that
takes
young lady from Dennis Conservation Commission said, that the molecules of water expand.
Right.
But if that's the case, wouldn't that increase the rate of evaporation, which should balance that out?
Absolutely.
That I don't know.
But if it's evaporating, it's
The
coming
rates would
back
be-
down.
The rates would
I-
be different. The water expansion, because there's multiple avenues of which the sea level is rising, and evaporation only accounts for a portion of it.
Well, and the molecules are expanding, make more water, it should reverse itself, balance it out.
In theory,
Yeah, everything's in theory.
yeah.
Taking aside the sea level rise, right? Climate change. They're not necessarily the same thing as sea level rise. Seeing more severe, stronger, more frequency of stronger, severe storm events. That's, so planning even for those more episodic, stronger events is something to consider too.
Well, I encourage everyone here to, at a minimum, read the material in these links. It's
And
not,
if anybody else has anything they want to share with the group, do
Yeah,
it through me, I'll
please.
send it out to everybody.
and if you just do a search item and Google search for sea level rise, you'll find links to many different organizations talking about sea level rise.
I'll see what I can get from Brian at the county for something, for stuff that's a little bit more specific to the changes in this immediate area.
I'm trying to formulate what it is that I'm trying to say here. So, I'm a little bit confused, because not about what everything that has just been said, but are we getting maybe a little ahead of ourselves with this? Because the way I'm understanding it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's nothing in place right now. We could talk about where the water is going to go or what the projections are, but if I'm understanding all of this correctly, there's nothing, there are no performance standards in existence as we speak, and that what we're looking at is establishing the beginnings of performance standards.
Correct.
Okay, so is it possible to just kind of step back a little bit and maybe do that first?
That's what I was saying.
And
we
then
should
talk
be-
about where we think these projections are going, or how far we need to go in. I mean, the way I'm understanding it is, what we're talking about here is, how do you establish how far in the V zone goes and what it looks like, right? Where this water is going to go is what you're talking about. But shouldn't we just backtrack and talk about sort of a basic template of where we're going to go with these regulations, and then get into the nitty-gritty of what you're talking about, John? Does that make sense?
So if we adopted the state regulations, I don't have the nifty graphic that Viv has in front of her.
There are no state, that's the point, the state doesn't
No.
have.
It's only state building the state
Just
has the state building code, and that only deals with construction.
Okay.
What you can do, not even doing construction, is talk about things about adding, remember we talk a lot about fill in the flood zone, and everyone says, oh, it's not a big deal, it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
Well, what if you're filling really pretty close to the ocean? You're gonna channelize some energy in places maybe it hasn't been before. So it's not necessarily just building, but it's things such as, we can regulate the placement of fill. We can regulate the clearing of vegetation that would normally absorb some action, water action, things like that, that have nothing to do with the state building code, but still should be performance standards in my mind for what you're doing in the flood zone. So that plays a big role in this too, and that would be a baseline, which is what they've started to
And the
articulate.
flood zone's the existing flood zone, not the.
Existing,
Wow.
not projected.
So,
I think to get some, sorry.
I just want to say, Viv, I agree with you. We need to step through the individual items in here. And most of it doesn't deal with the sea level rise thing.
Right.
It's mostly other stuff, and we need to deal with all of that. I wanted to prime the pump for those other things that are gonna be, those are gonna be the sort of sticking points where we're gonna have some
Right, right.
discussions.
Yep.
And I wanted to have a preliminary discussion just to get people thinking about it and looking at some of this material. So when we get to those points, people have had some time to think about
Okay,
it, and we
that
can
makes
talk
sense.
about it. But I agree, we shouldn't get hung up in having a long conversation about this right now, and we should get to looking at the language that they're proposing for most of these things, which
Yeah.
doesn't directly address sea level rise.
So do we want to, since it's a little early still, do we want to at least start going through some of the things and whether we agree or disagree?
I think we should.
Can I ask a question before we dive off into something else? In the last 50 or 75 years, is there any study or any educated opinion about the impacts on this in Barnstable County at this point? What has been the cumulative effect thus far?
I can ask, to see like if there were previous roads that are, I know in Harwich, there were paper roads and that are underwater now.
Which one?
So the town used to have property actually near Viv, at the corner of Shore Road and Davis Lane. There used to be land, the town actually owned a parcel of land in front of what is now Viv's house. And,
To the west a little bit. There's
Slightly,
the
right on-
pond Out there, yeah.
yeah,
But that was a long time ago, a long, long time ago.
it last was surveyed by our previous surveyor, Paul Sweetser, that there was land above mean high water, less than 15, it was probably about 10 years ago, that there was still area above mean high, not a lot, but there was still area above mean high water.
How much of that land was lost due to the water level increase?
So the state has been looking into this stuff pretty extensively. And one of the links that I sent was a map that this state has, I believe. And there's a long document that's referred to in there, the state's very detailed investigation of the impacts of sea level rise. I haven't read the document, but just answering your upfront question, has anybody spent time looking into this? I believe the state has spent a lot of time and money looking into this, and and the focus has maybe not been so much on Cape Cod, because there's been a lot of focus on Boston, because of all the development that's been going on in the waterfront, and lots of concern that tons of money is being spent on properties that are gonna get flooded out in the not-too-distant future. But I think the state has looked at the entire Massachusetts coastline in some detail.
I can see if the county has any county-specific data.
I think that would be important to investigate.
Yep.
You know, I mean, there needs to be a lot of consideration to the man-made changes
Of course.
of all the real estate involved from 1960 to now.
Mhm.
You know, because that's probably been the height of the construction and the height of the change, and the infiltration of more people. It's a big impact.
Well, I looked back at the PowerPoint from when we were in Chatham, and there's 1,900 parcels of land in the flood hazard area in
In
this
Harwich.
town alone.
Yeah,
And
we're one of
then,
the higher percentages.
Yeah.
and then over 1,000 structures.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's,
And that's current.
yeah.
flood.
So it's going to get, I would think, complicated and possibly contentious. I don't know.
I think it would become very complicated. I mean, you look at all the wetlands that were filled through the 1950s and early 1960s before wetland protection got into place. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of acres within 2 miles of here. So that has to have an impact on any incoming water in a storm.
And then you've got what's going on in the ocean with the eelgrass missing and the reefs missing and all the filtration and whatnot. That was the breaker for everything. Now the water just comes right in.
Right.
So I think you have to be very careful how you analyze the information that's out there, especially the state information,
Mhm.
because it tends to be pretty pointed.
There's definitely been, exacerbation of things. I mean, in my time here, I've seen, and a lot of it probably has to do with existing shoreline structures that were started to be built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and people aren't nourishing, so your beach is changing. You're having less space between low tide and high tide, so
Yeah.
the wave energy is that much greater at high tide.
Scouring.
There's a lot of factors at play. It's not cut and dry. For the sake of getting through a few things today, I do think there's a lot of things, at least in 7, the general performance standards, I think that we can agree on. Because these are things that, when we approve projects that are in flood zone, we're looking for guidance such as this to put conditions on. So for instance, general performance standards number 7, A, Any project that involves construction, expansion, or repair of an existing structure in the coastal resilience floodplain shall be designed to prevent any exacerbation of current or future flood conditions and prevent any harm to wetland resources. This is something we talk about always. We don't want it to have an adverse impact to the property, to adjacent properties, to wetlands.
What defines structures?
That would be the definition, the building code definition of structure. Our structure, we could also make it our definition of structure, which,
Is there a definition of structure at the beginning of this?
There might be.
oh, that's true. I don't have the whole document
Well,
with
the
me.
building code's already very specific about that,
Yeah.
statewide, regardless, wetland or otherwise. So,
Because we say things, like in our definition, conservation-specific condition of structure, we say things
There
like
isn't.
fences, patios, things like that, whereas the state building code may not. So
different language.
we can say, what do we choose as the definition of structure? We can look into that. Unless they've defined it earlier.
They didn't.
No, it's not.
It would be, I would guess that they would default to the state building code definition of structure.
So in state building code is, say, a impervious patio, is that a structure?
No.
No,
Or
patios are not, they
Patios
don't
not.
have
Ground level landscape.
decks, yes.
Changes at 6 inches above grade.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
There's no definition in the wetlands regulation?
there is, and I don't have it here in front of me.
Yeah.
Well, not in the state. Well, there may not be. We specifically defined what a structure is in our regulations. And that included decks, patios, fences.
And so what we're contemplating here is amendment
How do we
to
define?
those regulations.
Or
So-
how do we want to define, yeah, that's, I can pull that together.
And this is just for flood zone regulations?
This is just for coastal resiliency flood zone regulations, not the general wetlands regulations. But I understand, we shouldn't have a definition in our wetland regs for a structure that differs with this definition here.
Should be the same, right?
Should be, let's make it easy on everybody,
Yeah.
mostly ourselves. for
It's a tough argument to have different,
It is, so I could see the argument, something structural, you know, in addition, deck. That, to me, potentially is different than an on-grade patio. The only difference is that if it's impervious as opposed to maybe what somebody had as lawn, you get there's a little bit of a change, of a difference there in the term of a flood, but pretty minimal. I'll look into that. And define,
Further define
I will
structure.
give you the building code definition of structure, and I will also put in what we currently define structure as in our wetlands protection regs, okay?
good deal.
During new construction, this is B, and during expansion or repair of existing structures, construction materials shall be stored and secured to prevent damage from floodwaters or dislodging into floodwaters. This is typical site, maintenance of any project that we see, but it actually says something. An activity in the coastal resilience zone shall not cause an increase in the elevation or velocity of floodwaters, redirect flows or channelization, or impede return flows, or cause ponding at the project site or adjacent sites. This is what you see mainly right along shorefronts in places like Situate's a really good example where it's pretty low-lying, everything's highly developed. Everything, whatever they do changes the channelization of the floodwaters there and ponding. So this would be, we want to make sure that whatever you're proposing to do going forward is not going to exacerbate that. Specifically, I would think in the velocity zone in Harwich, which is right along the shorefront. And that would be on the onus of the applicant to prove.
So does that get into one neighbor wants to do a boulder revetment wall, it's gonna affect everybody else, like that kind of situation, or?
Yeah.
It could.
I don't think we want to be Chatham Junior over here. I think people should be able to protect their property.
We I would say not all, but most of Harwich has had structure where it could have structure for a while. There's some newer ones. The areas that don't have structure are dunes, and you can't put
Right,
a revetment in a dune.
right.
We're seeing some rebuilds. We're not seeing many new ones, new revetments.
That would play into a butter notification, right? If the butters are
Yeah, absolutely.
worried about potential damage
Yeah,
to this,
absolutely.
they can come in here.
Sure, sure. Because you're kind of pushing the water onto your neighbor, but then again, they have the option to do the same.
Yeah.
Do the same. We had one, I'm not
Come in
gonna
and
say the
do
property,
the
but we
case.
had one, in the last year or two that was contentious between neighbors, because one neighbor was asking to replace some geotubes, which never should have been permitted in the one place, to put rocks in, and the budding neighbor had a dune field and not a coastal bank, so couldn't do anything. So there were efforts made to add additional sand nourishment there on, where it abutted the neighbors and just in general to get, so that there wouldn't be exacerbated erosion right where the two properties met. It's not perfect because
So
of the
what
big-
happened in that instance?
So because they ultimately had a pre-existing, what was considered a coastal, a engineered structure, the geotubes were considered, they were allowed to build a rough-faced rock wall with sand nourishment and benchmarks and monitoring beach elevations and monitoring
And what was the impact on the neighbor? Did it,
to, well,
Scour
this
it
has
out
only
or-
been there for
It's
not
too
even a
soon.
year.
yeah, we've had some good rips in the last year, though. You would see some difference.
Not right yet. We haven't.
So it's also, I
I
don't
would
think
know
it's,
because I would
Probably
have had
situational, though,
calls.
depending
You
on.
would've
It's-
heard, you would've heard.
You know,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
it's
No.
not so simple as your neighbor, if you can do it, your neighbor can do it.
Right.
Because sometimes you can do it, but the neighbor's location is different. So the neighbor has a lot of other constraints that on their property and under state law that will interfere with them being able to fix it. Nonetheless, building a revetment on one property will end up having negative impacts on the adjacent property.
There's
And
ways
the
to
other thing
minimize.
that one has to consider there is one neighbor may be willing to spend six-figure sums on building a revetment, but
And the next.
their neighbor can't. And so,
Maybe they didn't even have to in the first place.
Well,
well, that's,
I could certainly speak to that, but I'll
Sorry.
save my, I think, I mean, this also makes me think, to get back to this point, what happens in a situation where there's an existing structure that's been there? Is this gonna be just a blanket, no, sorry, your house is just gonna wash away if this goes in place, that there are no exceptions to this, if I'm reading this correctly? Like, is there any discretion on the part of the commission in an extenuating circumstance? I mean, I
don't think it would, I think this would just be for new things
okay,
going forward.
okay.
That we can't take away or change what has happened in the past. This is for new
So
construction.
no new construction, no new structures, okay.
New construction. And it doesn't say no, it just says you can't do these things.
Yeah,
You can't redirect flows or cause channelization, things like that.
okay.
The idea, I mean, for some of these old structures, a lot of them are getting rebuilt, is to rebuild them better. And
Yeah, yeah,
that are more environmentally better, but also more resilient.
yeah.
Back in the day, they just, all the revetments were mortared.
Mm.
There was no porosity to them. The water just went
Yeah.
to the sides or up or down, and,
Some
we
of
learned
them
not to do that anymore.
There's still a few knocking around.
Oh, there are, but when they come forward for a rebuild, that's an opportunity to make things better. So it's less damaging for the neighbors. Okay. Are we okay with C?
Another hyperlink, you know how I'm just peppering
I
the whole
put it in
document?
mine. I put it in mine.
Add a
Thought of you, Viv.
hyperlink, yeah.
And I'd have a few little grammatical things ahead of time, but it's like shall or the spelling, so. In mine, I did put the hyperlink to 310 CMR 10.04. All right. D, any activity in the coastal resource zone shall, to the full extent possible, preserve existing native soils, vegetation, and other native natural conditions that serve as buffers to coastal flooding and storm surges. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
No, actually, I don't think that's very simple at all.
No?
No, because there's no specific information about that in the preservation of the types of soil or what to do with it or how to reconstruct it. It's a conversation that we had regarding some time ago, about nutrient loading and so forth. And it all comes back to the same thing, is the density of the soil. That impacts the plant growth, it impacts infiltration, impacts a whole lot of things. So I think the specificity of it is, did I say that right?
Close enough for me.
I think that would be very important to lay that out. I think that needs to be looked at a little closer.
So this
I don't,
this doesn't address adding something, it just addresses keeping what's already
yeah,
there.
keeping what's
So
there.
it's not like there's a conversation here about, what kind of soil you can put down, it's please
Preserve
the
what's there.
existing soil.
Right. So it's not revegetating an area that is denuded or whatnot, it's just saying that it's just saying preserve the existing soils and vegetation present.
But I'm not understanding it correctly, because that's not what I take out of it.
Isn't sometimes preserving amending? Sometimes you have to do some amending to preserve.
I think any activity should be further elaborated, because that's kind of open to
That's a good point.
almost anything. Driving machine through there, walking through there, construction. Because depending on what that activity is, could include
Mm.
damaging soils, existing vegetation, et cetera, et cetera.
So,
Like if a storm drain flooded and it washed out an area, is preservation replacing the soil that got washed out because it's gonna damage that area, or is it just doing nothing?
Hmm.
I'd say revegetating maybe, to prevent future washouts, but,
Or to replace what was taken, or?
yeah.
so what are we talking about, another definition now for activity?
It's just the nuances in the language, I think.
Or any activity to include X, Y, and Z.
I'm not sure why you need to qualify it with specific activities.
Yeah,
It's just requiring, it has the qualifier to the
Mhm.
fullest extent possible. So in your example of a storm drain getting washed out, clearly you're not gonna preserve the soils there because they've already been washed away, so,
No, but are you preserving the area?
yeah, why not? I mean,
So does preserving get into restoration at all? That's, was my question before.
Just wondering if that's a further bullet, maybe.
Yeah,
I've been looking for
well,
that.
let's see if it's already in here somewhere.
I don't think it is.
Maybe already, you don't
I
think it is?
don't think it is.
Restoration.
No.
Among other things.
Say it would depend on the area, or what's being
We get
proposed,
far into the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
because this is for
Yeah.
activity within the area.
I would just fear that naming each individual activity, there's
Right.
gonna be a bazillion loopholes.
Right.
All or,
keeping some ambiguity is,
right,
Or if it was restoration back to
Beneficial.
its original condition.
yeah, that could work.
Just adding that
If
in
it's
there.
You
impacted,
can tell what,
if
you can tell what was
impacted-
taken from there, you can tell what those soils were. You
Yeah.
You could replace whatever, if there was damage, and you could do proper and thoughtful mitigation to replace
preserve
the
and/or
damage.
And/or
restore.
restore, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just writing
So-
it down as you said it.
But what you're talking about, though, is remediating storm damage, which is this even addressing this? We're
That was just a potential situation.
yeah. I don't
Preserve.
wanna say restoration back to original condition, cause then that people could say, I like that phrase. But it
Preserve
could take
and/or
it to mean
restore.
like, oh, before, you know, before anything was built on the property, but maybe if it was, I'm trying to think, it was like, if there was damage done because of something recent, storm event or
I mean, a water line,
water line,
that-
things like
like,
that,
these things happen all the
so,
time.
That
I
is
guess we
actually
say,
kind of further talked about here. Says if it sustains flood damage consistently, then there's, what does it say?
where are you?
8C. If the structure incurs substantial damage due to floods or coastal storms after rebuilding to all applicable flood protection standards for a second time, then the structure shall either be A, moved landward beyond the V-zone, or B, demolished. So in an intense flood or storm, there's already some existing, in here at least, existing kind of standard for that.
So that includes a structure. What about just physical land?
I think C is for potential like buildings and decks and such. And then after moving or demolishing the structure, the site shall be returned to a vegetated, undeveloped state. No construction of any new structures, vacated land within the V-zone is allowed.
Okay, that's,
But that's jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
It is in there, some defining of it.
John, thoughts?
about this. I don't have any problem with the way it's worded there. I don't think we should be viewing this exercise as trying to reflect every possible circumstance in the regulations, because it's not possible. And I think the language, it has a qualifier to the fullest extent possible, that, you know, if we imagine ourselves sometime in the future dealing with a situation, whatever it is, and trying to be reasonable about issuing a permit, I think going by this doesn't feel a lot different than, you know, dealing with somebody who's doing something on their property, and what we're gonna tell them, if this is in the regulations, is you need to keep as much of this as possible.
and we have that elsewhere in our
same.
in our
I don't,
So basically.
wetland
it's
regs. We have practicable,
A
we say.
continuous circumstance across the board, but it also could be conditional.
I don't even understand what you
To
just
be
said.
open-ended for further definition based on each project potentially, or each permit within the flood zone?
Yeah, these are regs,
Yeah,
so,
if someone wants to put a condo unit within there, maybe don't do that.
or maybe you get it, but you have to elevate it, and the rest of the area has to remain in a natural state. You don't
Right.
get your, you know,
Right.
you get your big lawn, things like that. Maybe you get to build something, but you have to leave the rest of the area in a natural condition.
So can,
That's, so greatest extent feasible, or extent possible, we say practicable in a lot of our definitions, doesn't matter to me.
Right, sure, practicable.
practicable. Would it help then to, Rob's point, to just add preserve and or
And/or
restore, and then you're kind of covering, and that's a simple
Preserve.
fix.
Yeah, I like it.
So it could be removal or damage or what have you.
Yeah, that kind of leaves it open-ended
Yeah,
based on
because
the
if it gets
situation.
washed away, to your point, then
Yeah.
you're restoring it to, if you're talking about.
I think we maybe don't put original condition, because that can be up for interpretation. What is the
Well,
original
condition prior to the damage.
Mm.
But this is very specific. It's not just any soils. It's existing
Native
native
soils.
soil. Existing native soils,
Mhm.
vegetation, and other native natural conditions, stuff that's already there. You're focusing on, I mean, I'm thinking about just dealing with somebody who wants to do something in the flood zone, not dealing with storm damage, just someone who wants to do something in the flood zone. And what we're telling them is they have to preserve, to the greatest extent practicable, the existing native soils, vegetation, and other natural conditions. You're thinking about what happens if it gets
A lot of
damaged,
this is worded.
or are you really
to the
thinking
current
about
state building
they're
code,
gonna
right?
build something there, they've gotta clear the site,
So if we wanted to go
and
above that,
are
would
we
it-
gonna allow people to clear a whole site and then tell them to try to put it
Would
back
be
to
like
where it
two.
was originally?
plus or minus
I think so.
6% of the
That's a
state
bad idea.
building code?
Right, so
I-
then why would you why wouldn't you just leave the language the way it is?
Because
It's
it's
just-
called freeboard,
Just a clause for
and that's, we do have.
adjust in
freeboard
case something
now.
else happens.
So I wasn't sure how that would be worded,
Mhm.
at least.
I don't know, once we,
That's
once we,
something I think we need to talk with
you know,
building,
once we make this, how,
be one and together, so in
how could it be modified?
Instead
Or
of
can it be?
setting something in stone.
Is this gonna be
Well,
set,
so
is
an
it-
example
Is this gonna
of-
be set in stone after we do this?
The sorts of things we have to deal with and have dealt with is when somebody goes onto their newly purchased lot and cuts down a whole bunch of trees within 100 feet of the wetland. And
what the
you
building.
wish they didn't do that. You wish those trees were
For
there,
now.
but there isn't, and I don't know that there's any specific language anywhere in the regulations that says what should be done when someone, for example, cuts down a whole bunch of trees in their lot in some jurisdictional area that they shouldn't have done. What we will tell them is they have to do something to restore that.
Yes.
Telling them it has to be put back to their,
Correct.
to the previous condition. Do we have language in our regulations that says anything specific like that? I mean, clearly,
It says the commission may require restoration, which we do. And we usually, depending on each case, depending on what they cut, like, if it's a clear cut of everything, ground covers on up to trees, we've made them replant each trophic layer.
They
But-
also find them.
We also find them.
so perhaps
We don't like finding them, but we do if we have to.
there would be general language somewhere
Yeah.
about how we deal with violations of these rules, which is,
No teeth involved.
Previous condition could be hard to ascertain, I
Reg to
guess.
deal with violation.
How about we think about this one and move on?
well,
Sounds good.
right, clearly, we're not settling all this evening.
No.
So,
And keep moving. E, I would just say, for now, because it's a discussion that we have to have with the building department too, because zoning, we don't want to make any changes to making people elevate higher than what the building department under state building code is going to do. Unless they're in agreement and they're gonna change the zoning regulations. So for now, I would say, shall be elevated in accordance with the Mass State Building Code, just for now, at least, and move on with that. So that's really just mass,
It's automatically the default right now anyway, isn't it?
yes.
So we don't really need to even do anything.
We don't, but I think if you clearly state for now, it's the Mass State Building Code, if whenever the time comes, the building department and us, if you wanna change that to say an additional foot of freeboard, then you already have that in there, you can just easily make that change. But that would have to be a discussion, that's not something that we should decide ourselves.
We can add more hyperlinks though, can't we?
Huh?
I said we can add more hyperlinks though, can't we?
We can,
Hyperlink every word.
Yeah. Well, because I want to know, when I'm looking at that, I want to be able to click and say, what are those standards? Because I don't know.
I
what
looked
do
right
you know what I
before
mean?
this meeting, and it was really hard to just easily find them.
Okay.
So I just have to make a warning,
Okay.
which is when you fill a document with,
You're looking at me while you're saying this, so it's
Yeah.
got to do with hyperlinks.
it does,
Personal.
that's exactly what, yes, very personal. Hyperlinks, the problem is, do we know that the state is gonna keep those things at that specific URL, which is the
I think
risk
every
with
year it's gonna have to
hyperlinks?
be a check or something
So,
like that, to make sure they're still
we
accurate.
should look into that. If the state were being smart about it, they would have some, permanent links that we could attach to when they
Instead of-
reorganize their websites,
Yeah.
the permanently,
Maybe instead of hyperlinks for some things where it makes sense,
You can archive.
open up a pop-up window as just like a definition.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just for ease of understanding as you go, because I
Yeah.
get bogged down in this. I mean, it's.
Instead of opening up a
It's
whole
hard
new
to,
webpage,
you know?
it's just a pop-up.
I understand, it's just, what you don't wanna have is somebody reading the document, click on a hyperlink, and then they get a page that says 404,
Yeah,
this page does not
Yeah,
exist.
yeah.
Which
A little
would be even
dinosaur.
more frustrating.
I actually got that today when I was perusing the state website. There was a hyperlink on their website that no longer worked, so.
Be careful counting on DEP.
All right, so
Or state
for now,
IT.
we'll say state building code and town zoning, which is the same right now.
Okay.
F, any activity shall be designed and constructed to result in no net loss of open or undeveloped space unless the applicant can demonstrate that the use of open or undeveloped space will not exacerbate flooding or otherwise adversely impact wetland resources.
I got nothing.
It puts the onus on them that if they want to clear cut a lot in the flood zone, that they
Build something.
that they can build, yeah, that by clearing and exposing the soils, that they have to prove that it's not gonna have an adverse impact. So it's not saying you can't do it, it's saying you have to prove that you're not gonna have an adverse impact.
It's a tough burden of proof.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
You'd almost
This makes
just be
it-
better off saying no.
This makes it not our burden.
It's hard in a, in a V zone, it's something hard not to prove. But when you're in the way upper floodplain, if you're at elevation 10.9 in a AE 11 floodplain and you wanna do some clearing, it may not be hard to prove that it's not gonna have an adverse impact there. So it depends on your elevation, depends on your floodplain. Depends on the elevation of your neighbors. You're gonna have an impact on them, or they're gonna have an impact on you. But it puts the onus on the applicant. In determining the applicability of any performance standard to a project or activity, the commission shall consider all phases and segments of the projects from the date of adoption of these regulations. A project may not be phased or segmented to evade, defer, or limit the applicability of these regulations. This kind of goes into what the state building require, or the towns require now, is a lot of people do, especially, do try to evade the regulations and do projects piecemeal, so to not have to meet the 50% rule. So we see a lot of renovations that come in and say, okay, I'm gonna do the kitchen now, and then next year, I'm gonna do the bathrooms, and then the year after that, I'm gonna do this, this, and this. Harwich only has a 1-year limit. Chatham says anything you do within 3 years counts towards the 50% rule.
Okay.
Harwich is only activity that happens within the year, counts towards it. But this is kind of similar to that regulation, is it's saying they don't want you to segment it.
Can I ask a question? Just a clarifying question about this?
Uh-huh.
What you said makes perfect sense, but when it says segments of the project from the date of the adoption of these regulations, I don't know what that means. Sounds like very confusing to me. The adoption, from the date of the adoption of these regulations, what does that mean?
Just, I think it means it doesn't apply to
Yeah.
previous. This thing doesn't
You just say
apply.
for new projects. And rather,
It's just,
yeah,
It almost looks like a grandfather clause.
right.
That's what it is.
That's what it sounds like.
Years ago.
It's just saying some date of adoption of these regulations. We could say for new projects as of the date of adoption of these regulations.
Yeah.
all phases.
That's a little bit, I mean, that I think I could understand, but
That would prevent too, like, if somebody already started a project just prior to these regulations, and then they're gonna be in the middle of it, that kind of what they did before the adoption doesn't count against them.
Because the way it's worded now is it would only affect a certain time frame.
Right. All right, we got through section 7. That's good. Do we have bandwidth to keep going a little bit?
No,
Okay, that's why I'm
Well, that's
asking.
being honest.
one man's opinion.
just being honest.
Just so I'm clear, so we just did general performance standards. The next one is additional performance standards within the B zone, which if you look at that graphic, that I called up, is like the first zone. So
Right, it's the
proposal would be those would be tougher.
those are gonna be tougher.
LOA would be maybe not as tough as the V zone,
Yeah.
but more than the general performance standards. So that's kind of where we're headed.
Yes.
Okay.
That's fine, we just wanna see movement. So for the next time,
I mean, I'm not the only person, you guys can, maybe we'll put it to a vote.
I
whether
have,
we
no,
keep
to be
going.
honest, I haven't gone through completely all of 8 either. I meant to, it just didn't happen.
yeah, no, I'm,
Okay, so maybe we should move on to minutes.
Yeah.
Is that the only other thing?
That
we
was
have?
good, though. I'm gonna track down Brian from the county and try to get you some county-specific information. I wanna know it too. You got 2 sets of minutes.
So
And then I
why
have-
was one of them highlighted in yellow, or some of it was highlighted in yellow?
I don't know.
Some of which?
The minutes?
Oh.
I thought we voted on those, I don't know, they.
Well, no, the first one, there was something Mark, I thought, was looking for review about, or was that?
It was probably something with Lisa. Lisa was probably highlighting something for her own.
Yeah, I had inquired about that particular section. There was some details that were left out, and I think it's been clarified.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
She probably just left the highlights on by accident.
So you want to make a motion?
Move highlights.
Sure.
You can do both of them at once if you want.
I'll move to approve both minutes, yeah, for June 17th and July 15th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6-0. Okay.
I have a couple of things for you, if you have just a couple minutes for me. So an update on 188 Route 28, the violation at the old potted geranium. So they had asked, their deadline was, get my dates straight. Their deadline for submittal of an after-the-fact notice of intent for existing conditions and what they plan on doing to the property, this is flood zone as well, was July 20th. July 20th came and I hadn't heard, so I asked what their status was. They asked for a 2-week extension. Typically, what we do is, we usually grant them an initial extension, and it was modest, it was 2 weeks, so I granted them the 2-week extension. That put us to the 3rd. I have yet to hear from them. So as of right now, I am fining them daily until they,
Good.
until they submit application.
How much is the fine?
$300 a day. That's the most we can do.
Good.
That should get their attention.
So,
As long as we collect it.
we don't.
Right.
Goes to the general fund. So, that's where we're at with that right now. I got a request from the head of the zoning board of appeals, if I can read it to you quickly, and I can send you this email. So, administration and the zoning, and Brian, the chair of the zoning board of appeals, Brian Sullivan, they want to create a zoning work group. So we have this brand new adopted local comprehensive plan that everybody works really hard to do. We want to make sure it actually gets implemented. It doesn't just sit on a shelf. So, that's their request, is a zoning work group. It says, "Hi Amy, Duncan Berry," he's with Historic, "and I have been drafting planning board, he's planning board. Drafting recommendations for the Harwich community to review zoning regulations. With the adoption of the local comprehensive plan, as well as the approval of town meeting to hire a form-based code zoning consultant, it is our recommendation that the time has come to start organizing a proper zoning code review work group, which would be a community-based effort. The the zoning committee, organized earlier this year by Christine Flynn, who's our town planner, was a quick response to address a few of the codes. Further updates of the current bylaws are still required to bring Harwich Code in line with state regulations. So he attached, and I will send to you, a proposal to the town administrator, as well as a mission statement with expanded review of possible areas of responsibility and goals for the work group. Please keep in mind that this is a broad-based concept meant to encourage discussion. He is interested in if anybody on the Conservation Commission, because he wants a wide, and not just the Conservation Commission, because I think in general, involved citizens of the town, I said would be good for him to approach as well. But if anybody would be interested in taking part in this initial work group, you don't have to answer me now. I'll send you this email as well as that, and you can think about it.
Can I ask a question? Do they have a timetable set up, or is it too soon for
Not
that?
yet.
Not yet, okay.
He's just seeing who might be interested first, and he would ideally like representation, because there's a lot of the local comprehensive plan does relate to conservation,
Yeah.
so. All right,
I have a few things, if you're all set.
trying to think, I think that might, oh, one more thing.
Yep.
Sorry. You had selected SWCA as your third-party consultant for Pine Oaks 4. After a few changes in schedule, I went out there yesterday with the applicant representative, LEC, as well as SWCA, to look at all the wetland delineations on the site. Spent a good part of the day bushwhacking out there, and so within about a month, you're gonna have their findings and their report. The woman, the professional wetland scientist from SWCA, I thought was extremely thorough. We got in there. We dug some soil samples, and she questioned, there were some things, not a lot, but some areas where she questioned.
Did Natural Heritage get in there too?
They haven't, because it's not mapped, and what I can't require, we cannot require that somebody to hire a consultant to go and do that. It is both the applicant's representative from LEC, the professional wetland scientist, myself, and the woman from SWCA agreed that, this is ideal habitat for some things. However, the owners of the property would have to allow survey to occur. And we can't let some people have asked, well, can I go take photos of these species that are on there? And I said, I cannot encourage you to trespass on property that's not yours. So I said, if it is in question, if you think this should be investigated, then they can contact, and I gave them the contact information of the people at Natural Heritage that they should discuss this with.
So this is a statutory thing that we can't, where does it say, I guess is what I'm trying to say, where does it say we can't require the applicant to
Not
investigate
for the whole
this?
site, we can't. Maybe in our,
But where
maybe
does
in
it
our
say that,
buffer
though?
zones, because we
Is-
don't have jurisdiction in an area that's
Oh.
outside the buffer zone.
Can the town require that? Like,
I don't know.
can town planning require that? You're just saying, we
Maybe
don't
when
have
they-
jurisdiction over the whole site, so
We don't
we
have
can't.
jurisdiction over the whole site.
Just over the wetland.
When they go to,
Well, can we require them to investigate it for natural heritage species in places we have jurisdiction in that site?
potentially, when they come in front of you with the actual application of what they intend to do in your jurisdiction.
Okay.
But basically, I just wanted to let you know things are moving along with that. And, not an ideal time of year, obviously, to look at vernal pools, but there are indicators that were looked at to see, that would suggest that an area that is now dry potentially held enough water in the March, April, May timeframe. So we looked at that, got eaten by mosquitoes, and that's why I'm scratching my legs. It's either that or poison ivy. Thought I covered myself pretty good, but,
Not a tick bite, because
no.
those can wickedly itch.
No, it is
For me.
not, there's not ticks. I did have socks on up to here, so that helped, but, it was good. That's all I've got.
How about our friends from Champion Tree Service? What's the latest on that?
We have a court date.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, so, yes. So,
Wow,
yeah,
okay.
we
I don't know
normally,
anything
we
about
don't
this.
we don't like to have to go this far. So,
Well,
last
awesome,
year,
let's
it forced us to. In East Harwich on, I think they call it Grass Pond or Mud Pond up there, Standish Woods Circle in East Harwich, Mud Pond, a homeowner hired a Champion Tree Company, to not only cut on his property, but to cut all the way down to the water on association property and into the wetland itself. There's an extensive bordering vegetated wetland around there, button bush, they cut down full-grown trees, basically cleared everything. So we issued an enforcement, had show cause hearings, we invited, the homeowner did show up. He has paid his fines. I need to check in and make sure he's done his plantings all this spring. I think we were actually gonna investigate what was coming back, because I do, a lot of it would, the button bush will come back on its own. So I need to check on that, but try as we might with phone calls, certified mails to various addresses for Champion Tree, couldn't get them in here. So the fines were
They should know better than that.
several,
Professional tree service?
they do know better than that, because we've caught them before.
Oh dear, repeat offender.
They are repeat offenders. So I said, well, one way to get their attention is to file something in court because they haven't paid their fines. So we did that. September, I want to say it's the 19th, we have a court date. Lo and behold, who did I get a call from yesterday? Champion Tree Service to discuss the issue and how we can resolve it, because they were just made aware of this.
That's not possible.
Because they kept throwing the mail out.
That's not, that's still on them, find them more.
So I'll talk to them, but we're gonna pursue
Yeah, good.
this. I mean, with them, what we wanted to do, it's the person who it's the gentleman who's responsible for the replant and whatnot, and he did pay his fines. Actually, a question for you. If they were to, because they're not on the hook for doing the replanting, it's not their property.
It's just a
If
hook
they
up.
were to pay all their fines,
Yeah.
would you drop the case? Say it's about $9,000.
I would. Take the money and run.
Thing is, the court, from experience, and our counsel will tell you this too, the court will decrease that to almost nothing.
The
It did that for
9,000?
Mr. Smith. We had $42,000 in fines for some other individual. The court reduced, we dragged him through court, and that was a pain, but reduced his fines to like $1,500.
Why?
We need a better
They cut
attorney.
on neighboring,
Huh?
you said they cut on neighboring properties too?
Yeah, they cut on association property that wasn't even theirs.
You're better off to take the money if
Should
they'll
be able to
pay it
replant
than leave.
They are,
They are.
You gotta
yes. So
factor
the
in what-
association was involved and is all, like, they have to do this. They have to replant on our property.
You gotta factor in what it'll cost the town to have an attorney
Yeah.
fight them. Take the money and run.
We have time, too. I can see
Town
what they
attorneys too,
say.
right?
Simple,
Yeah,
keep it simple.
typically at Orleans District Court, town attorneys don't go, I go.
Oh, really?
And in general, I mean, I know the cases better than,
Yeah.
or the history, and I've documented everything.
Yeah.
It is, just not unusual for them, they're gonna ask to reduce the fine. And that's what's gonna probably happen.
Repeat offense, can we tell them to professionally shove it and say, pay your fines anyway? Because this isn't the first time, right?
All right, next, Lothrop Avenue, what's our friend down there doing with his house that's supposed to be destroyed?
The house is supposed to be coming down, and we had talked, and he had agreed that it was gonna be in a certain amount of time frame, and I was foolish not to put it in writing, to be honest, because that hasn't come to fruition, so it will.
Also on, across the street from, I just thought of this a while ago, that 222 that you dealt with, that was because of the floodplain?
Yes.
Now, right across the street from there, I noticed that in the old, it used to be a package store back in the 50s, but I noticed there's an excavator sitting there. I don't know what they're up to, but that's the same floodplain.
Across
Where are you
from
talking about?
Right across the street from the 222 that you guys dealt with tonight?
202, yeah,
Was it 202? I thought it was 222, whatever. Yeah.
excavator.
Where'd you see the excavator?
Right there, sitting next to the building. They've got the building, wrapped around with chain link fence, like
Yeah.
construction fence. And there was an excavator sitting there the other day. So I don't know what they planned on doing, the septic system or demo or whatever, but they've been working on the building quite a bit.
Yes.
So
I
can't
wanna say we
imagine
gave him, for the building, I think we gave him an admin, cause he just basically re-sided and, like,
Right, yeah.
that was probably an administrative, but if they're gonna be excavating, that's different.
Wasn't it- I
I'll
don't
check
think there's
that.
anything there today when I was there.
No,
No,
I didn't check it today,
I didn't
but
notice anything today when I was there, so.
worth looking into.
We're by there all the time, I'll take a look.
Yeah.
Also done it quick.
What you laughing at?
I was just making sure it wasn't one of our pieces of gear. I'm glad
Oh.
to hear it's not.
No, it wasn't an RBO machine, no. I think it was,
Skate away on that one.
All right, folks.
all right, I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission of 2020, what the hell is it,
Six.
26, and August 5th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.